What's up people, Perry here with a tutorial for you, and in this tutorial we will be talking about how to make your own realistic waterfall. Now, you might think there are some big things that you need to do in order to make it look like a realistic waterfall, but the truth is that there's more of little details here and there that you need to look out for, and we'll go over all of them in this episode. So why don't we go ahead and get on with it. Alright, so the first thing that you're going to want to do when looking for a suitable location for your waterfall is you want some sort of a mountain with a cliffy type nature, much like these ones right here. I'm in a savanna plateau M biome, and they provide us with the most opportunities to have nice cliffs like this. It also has these plateaus here, which provide us with an opportunity to make some sort of a river that leads up to the waterfall. Because we want to make it realistic, we want some sort of a source for our waterfall, because it's not like in Minecraft where water just comes out of one single block. So in doing that, what we want to do next is to find an area for our river to run through. So here's what I'm thinking. We'll have a lake up here and then a river that meanders its way over to our waterfall. And we want to use our imagination a little bit to figure out the pathway of the river. And if you can kind of follow along with my cursor, the source of the lake will be up here. And coming down this way, imagining like if I was to pour a bucket of water in real life down this way, which way would it flow? And I'm thinking it kind of flows like this. I don't know if you can see that, but using my imagination, that's what I'm coming up with. Your imagination may differ, and you can go with that however you would like to. But in our case right here, what I'm going to do is to figure out a decent pathway for the river, and we're going to do that just by placing down some wool. And we'll take a step back and take a look at the final product when we're all done. But again, I want that little bit of a bend to the river, and hopefully we can get one going here. And like I said, this is just like a real basic layout where I would like the river to be. This may change over time, and it probably will change over time. So, well, we've already reached the end. Our source is going to be right here. The river itself will flow something like this along these orange blocks. Just like that. Not too much of a bend, but at the same time provides a little bit of a natural feel to it. And then of course our waterfall will end up right around here. Now the next thing that we want to do is to start eroding away at the terrain. Now when I say erode away at the terrain, it's usually one of those moments where you kind of have to put on your cap, your imagination cap, and figure out where the blocks need to be taken away, and in some cases where blocks need to be put. And what I usually start off doing is just start punching away blocks, making ourselves a nice little gully for the river to go through. And hopefully we can come to some sort of a logical end to it. And it's always good to have some blocks on you just to kind of place it where you need it to at any given time. And it's all about sculpting the world to the way that you want it to. Most of us don't really have that natural feel of where a pathway should go or a river should look like. Because you know what, in nature it's all about some sort of it's like a chaotic type randomness to it. You don't really know where things are going to go, but over time, and you can kind of see it right now, we're starting to shape in the river, and that's all due to just punching away blocks. And all I do most of the time is to just go up and down the riverbed itself, follow along the pathway, and just taking away blocks where I feel that they need to be taken away. And then of course you step back and then try and figure out what is the best course of action. So I'm going to go away for a little bit and keep hammering away at this, but when we come back we should have some sort of a finished product. Alright, so I think you can see a nice little natural pathway for our river to run through. Here is a nice look at the lake. Of course you can't really see it right now. You can kind of see it actually. Kind of looks like that. And once we get the water in, it'll look much better. And that's the path that the river is going to take in order to get to our waterfall, which is right over here. Now you'll notice this little apparatus right here, this wall of dirt. And that's because I had a little bit of an issue with my imagination. I was trying to think about where the water was going to go, and I did see that it might splay over the edge and go down this way, but we don't want to do that. We want it to come off of here and here only. So I built up a nice little wall, and in doing that, of course, we have to start putting in blocks to give it, again, a nice natural feel to the mountain. And this takes time. You'll try and figure out where the blocks need to go, and it's trial and error. There is no rhyme or reason to it, but you know that once you take a step back and you start looking at it, start putting in blocks where you need or you think that the blocks need to be put. So something like that. And over time, you kind of get a feel for it. It does take a lot of practice, but I do promise you that you will get there. Yeah, so something like that, a nice natural feel to the mountain. And so I think we need to build up the sides here a little bit more. Take away that flower. There we go. And I would say that we have a nice natural path that leads up to our waterfall. Alright, so the next thing that we want to do is to start building up our cliffside, being able to make the lip for our waterfall. And if you know anything about waterfalls, how they are formed is that there's some sort of a rock, hard substance at the top of a hill, and as the water runs down it, what ends up happening is that it erodes away at the soil and all the sediment, all the stuff that can be taken away very easily, but the rock at the top is the stuff that gets left behind, and that gets left there, and it slowly makes sort of like cliff type face to it, and it kind of erodes back into the terrain itself. And what ends up happening is that you get a little bit of a lip, and then the waterfall forms kind of naturally, which is a really cool thing. And so we want to kind of recreate that right here, and I'm using this stone just to kind of simulate the fact that this is going to be a harder type of substance at the top, and it's going to kind of jut out like this. And I think we can go out just a little bit more like that. And of course, all of this will have to be incorporated into the terrain itself, but what I want to do is to kind of figure out what that lip is going to look like. And so it's going to indent a little bit like so. There we go. So you can kind of see it right now, the outline of our lip. Might even come out just one block more, but the next thing that we have to do is to fill in this entire area. All right, so we have a nice natural run up to our waterfall, a nice little cliff edge for the water to jump off of and get on down to the bottom. Don't be surprised if you go ahead and when you're doing this, placing blocks when you're trying to make the lip of the waterfall, don't be surprised if you place a lot more blocks than you thought you were going to. I found that in doing this, you're going to need a lot of blocks. You're going to need to place a lot of material in order to get this type of lip. So the next thing that we want to do is to prepare the bottom for our waterfall. And you can see right here that if I jump off just from this area right here and then jump down, you can see that it doesn't quite reach the bottom. So we want to go ahead and start taking away the materials here in order to create the bottom of our waterfall. And the important thing to note, and in reality what ends up happening with these waterfalls, is that it tends to carve out a nice deep hole in the ground because of course it's falling water and the gravity of it starts to take away all the bottom sediment. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to go ahead right here and start taking away a lot of this material, and hopefully when I come back we'll have a nice bottom end to our waterfall. Alright, so I'm just placing some finishing touches here to our riverbed, and in most riverbeds there's a collection of sand, gravel, and clay in some parts, and actually you find this in Minecraft as well. These collections of clay and sand and gravel, and you place them in random amounts anywhere you want. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, just place them wherever you feel they go. Try to be as random as possible with it. I find that I'm just knocking out blocks and then coming along and slowly carving where you want it to go usually works the best. And like I said, no rhyme or reason to it, just as long as you kind of fill in the basin like so. At least the lower parts of the riverbed and the lake bed, just so that it gives it a little bit more of a realistic touch. And now here comes my favorite part of the build, and that is placing in the water. I've already gone ahead and done the lake. Just a little bit of a tedious process. If you're wondering about how I filled it in, what I did was I just put in some blocks that kind of filled in the area, just so I know to take away these particular blocks, this orange wool here, and basically I did one level of water and then immediately after just take away those blocks, just so we have a nice flat surface for our lake. However, for the river, because it's going to flow down like so, and it goes down on multiple levels, in Minecraft you don't really have that issue. It usually goes down all on one level. I thought it'd be more realistic for the river itself to kind of have sort of like a rapids type feel to it, so there's going to be some water flowing, and it could be kind of cool using a boat going down it and coming up to the waterfall. But as we go along here, if any time you need to raise up the water at any point, what I found would be best is to be placing orange, well, not orange wool, but whatever block of your choice into the ground, and it kind of raises it up. Just as long as you're placing it underneath a water block, it is most helpful when shaping the river, and it's going to be really important when we do that, because as we go along here, we're going to want to sculpt the land again, just to kind of encompass the river just a little bit more. You can see that the water, the way it behaves, it kind of sticks out a little bit. So every so often I like to place blocks here and there just so that we can encase the river a little bit more. And in some places where I feel that water needs to be put, I just put down a block of water, and then sooner or later you start to get a feel for where you want the river to go. And you know, don't be afraid of, like I said before, making mistakes here and there. It's always good to just come back to it, place some blocks over it, start all over. But it's really up to you what shape you want the river to go into. I know that I'm going to be having some fun times trying to figure out which way the water is going to flow. You can already see right now I'm going to have to make some additions here and there. But when we come back, I'll have a better idea of where I want this river to go. Alright, and from our source of the lake, we progress down the river, and coming up to our gorgeous little waterfall here. Falls on down to this nice area where the water kind of splays out and then funnels its way down to another lake, a receiving pond at the bottom of the waterfall. And I would say that is about it for our realistic looking waterfall. I thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below, what you guys think of the tutorial. Let me know what you think of the whole thing, and maybe you have some ideas of what you would like to do better. One important note is that try to have some sort of an overhang here. Don't have the water flat up against the rock. It gives it more of a, I guess, a little bit more of a detailed type feel to it if you have the water overhanging. And also I went ahead and made the overhang itself kind of jagged like so. Again, another little detail element that you can add into your waterfall. So likes are always appreciated, of course, and if you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So that's it for me. Always remember, keep your head up, and I will see you in the next one.